and live. This is Business Plus. I am Krishna Kumar and I'm joined in the studios by Karthik Malhotra as we begin this edition of Business Plus with masks on our face simply because it's not COVID that's back. It is air pollution in Delhi NCR, which is back to its annual peak. So much that us here in Noida are not able to step out onto the streets without these on our faces, isn't it, Karthik?
Absolutely, Krishna. I mean, you wake up in the morning, you can't see a thing, you can't see the next building, you try to drive on the roads, it is absolutely dusty, muggy, smoky. Just no respite whatsoever.
Just no respite whatsoever. So we're going to put it into perspective. For all those of you watching this broadcast, we are here in studios here in Noida. This is our life, and this is our life year after year. But just to give you an idea of what the air quality levels, how poor they are, we have our colleague Udisha now joining us live on this broadcast. Udisha, thank you so much for taking time out. And clearly you two have been suitably masked up. Let's quickly take these off.
We're indoors, thankfully.
Thankfully, we're indoors. That's the only reason why we're taking these masks off. We're indoors. We're safe now. But tell us how unsafe it is outside here in Noida and the rest of Delhi NCR.
Krishna, I would like to give you with the example of myself. I drive my scooty every morning at 7 to this office, and there is a thick smog that you see, and it's very difficult these days, and it's increasingly becoming very difficult to see and find your way, and you just turn your headlights on and everything. So if we talk about numbers, then in the past 5 days, the air quality in Delhi has worsened. So if we talk about this number, then 300 to 400, it's very poor, and over 400, it's the severe air quality. Now, if we see date-wise, on 29th October, the air quality was 300 plus, 30 October, 300 plus. The same goes on, and yesterday if we talk about, the number increased to 343. If we talk about Anand Vihar area and areas including Rohini, the air quality was severe, which crossed the 400 mark, and it was at 415.
This morning, Noida, sector 125, where we are, Krishna, the AQI level, at least what my iPhone told me, was 400 plus again. So it's not just Anand Vihar, the ISBT, the terminal where all the buses come and all the diesel vehicles come. I think this is across the board. In fact, some reports yesterday also suggesting that AQI level in some parts of Delhi had breached the threshold of 999. I don't know if those reports are believable or not, but there were reports which indicated that 999, which is the uppermost limit at which AQI air quality index measures the toxins in the air, it had possibly breached that as well.
Wow. So that AQI is severe is what you're telling us.
Right.
And this is the latest data for the last 3-4 days as far as Delhi NCR is concerned. And Karthik is talking about it's across Delhi NCR. It's just because you're in Delhi, you're safer. Noida, you're safer. You're safe nowhere in Delhi NCR come the month of November, December, isn't it, Udisha? It happens every year.
That is very true, and it's not just Delhiites who are experiencing things. So Rohit Sharma, the cricketer, he was traveling back from Lucknow to Mumbai, and during the flight, he took a snap of the plane side, and he posted on Instagram saying that the air quality has worsened like anything, and in Hindi he said what has happened to Mumbai. And not just Rohit Sharma, it's the US ambassador to India also who experienced that, and who said that, the Delhi's air quality, it looks like you are growing up in LA, because whenever you were in LA, there was always pollution everywhere. So it's not just we experiencing it, it's just people who have, who are at high positions also. They are also talking about the seriousness of the situation and the menace of air pollution in India, in total, we can say that.
Right, it's a big word coming in from Eric Garcetti, US Ambassador to India. Good that Udisha is pointing out to us. Incredible. And also, it's not just Eric Garcetti. Everybody from Rohit Sharma, the cricketer, to Eric Garcetti, they're feeling it in India. And the scary part is that this is not being restricted just to Delhi NCR. It's extending all the way up to Mumbai as well, isn't it, Karthik?
But, Udisha, I want to understand, since you're studying this subject very, very closely, we've been talking for years about the Delhi government's GRAP, the Graded Response Action Plan. What is the GRAP looking like this year?
Right. So currently the CAQM has implemented the third stage of this graded response action plan, and as per the action plans, this is what we see. There is a ban on the construction activities in the NCR region, the National Capital Region. There is a complete ban on that. However, for special projects only, the ban has been lifted, just for the special projects, and these special projects will be the defense related projects, health related projects, interstate bus terminal related projects. And if we can move ahead, then these the government has also
said sprinklers, they never work, they just dirty your cars even more.
Yes.
Okay, sure.
Yes. and the complete ban on the excavation, boring and the drilling works. The diesel buses in fact are also banned to enter in the Delhi region, and there is also a ban on the demolition works, loading and unloading of construction materials anywhere within.
Any talk of odd even getting implemented again? Any chances of odd number vehicles
That
flying
will
an
soon
even
happen
number?
if it has not happened to date. And there is also Delhi schools, basically schools in Delhi, the primary schools are shut off. Why? Because children might feel this pressure of this air pollution and everything. So
schools in Noida are definitely open. We are sitting in Noida. My daughter went to school this morning with the mask on, and
there are
I think
enough
the
and
only
more parents complaining in Noida as
so
to
I had
how
to
are
tell
schools
my
open.
daughter, do not engage in outdoor sports today. Just stay inside your classroom. And if you have to step out, when you do have to step out, for lunch or something, keep your mask on. That is all that I think we are able to do right now, sitting here in Noida.
And we were talking about during COVID times that wearing a mask and everything, hinders your socialization because for obvious reasons. So when we are talking in the case of children, then again it's the repetition of what we did in COVID, and we are up using mask again because there's no way out unless we do something about it.
Right, and I think the urgency right now, Karthik and Udisha, as we were talking, is that before the adults, I think we have to save the children. We have to think about when to shut down schools, especially in Delhi NCR.
True.
Take calls, are dynamic, check air quality levels every single morning and save the children at least. Actually, you should be saving everybody, but at least save the children is the request, is the alarm we're raising here from News 9 Live on Business Plus. Udisha, thank you for joining us on that. So we're clearly understanding the fact that whatever you choose to do when your air is like that, that's where your focus will be. And we all have taken out our masks for today because it's been bad. Bear in mind, it's not like, Udisha, isn't that right? As Udisha was talking about, it's been bad since October 29. We are in November 3rd today.
But I think, Krishna, again, whatever graded responses we tinker around with, whatever anybody says, the fundamental problem which results in air pollution is not the vehicles, is not the diesel, is not even, firecrackers which get banned on every Diwali. I think it is very simply proven that it is the stubble burning which happens in Punjab and Haryana. The urgency to quickly turn around your harvest, the stubble left over from your harvest, get the land ready for the next sowing season, and quickly put it on fire. Farm fires, field fires across the board, and all the air getting stuck
Just
here
one change I'd like to make.
Capital.
From what I understand, the numbers this year, apparently, stubble, as far as stubble burning is concerned, the stubble burning in Punjab has come down. Guess where it's increased?
Haryana?
UP.
Oh my God.
So the amount of stubble burning has increased in UP for the year as compared to, let's not forget the fact that there's still stubble being burnt in Punjab, still stubble being burnt in Haryana, still stubble being burnt in UP. We're witnessing an increase in UP, and some numbers say that it's actually reduced a little bit in Punjab.
Oh my God. Competitive federalism has an all new definition. Let's compete on who can burn more stubble. Come on, chief ministers, state governments, time to wake up and take some real action.
Absolutely. Dark comedy aside, this is a very serious situation. We here at Business Plus are reminding all the authorities as to what we're going through. We have masks outside, ladies and gentlemen, and it's not COVID. Thank God it's not COVID, but this is equally, murderous enough and taking away lives of people, and we hope that we have a solution very soon. So Udisha, thank you so much for taking time out to help us understand what is going on over here. Let's move on, but keep it with air. There is the talk of something called as carbon tax.
Yeah.
Right. And now there's a chance that Indian companies could be specifically charged carbon tax by, global authorities. Talk to us about that, Karthik.
So, Krishna, I think, CBAM, which is the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, CBAM, is something which the European Union is implementing from 2026. Some reports suggest that from as early as 1st of Jan 2026. We don't have much time to really overhaul all the industrial toxins that get produced and all the carbon that gets emitted into the environment. And the European Union is saying that any exports to the EU from India will be taxed under the CBAM. Not just India, I think across the world, CBAM becomes a global standard that companies which are not carbon neutral will have to pay an additional tax to the European Union for their exports into that region. Now, obviously, that's a problem for India. India is not going to be able to turn around its industries and have that energy transition to achieve net carbon zero. We have our own target of 2070 for net carbon zero, but even till 2030, we are looking at 500 gigawatts of installed capacity for renewable energy. Those are going to feed into the grids, and those grids are going to feed into the industries and companies. But overall, we are not going to be ready by 2026. So how is India going to avoid this carbon tax? Because this is pure play cash out. It doesn't benefit anybody other than the European Union itself. And it's not that they have set the most exciting and and the best practices out there when it comes to containing emissions. I mean, they have a 100-200-year-old advantage over India. So I think the fight between the West and the East, developed versus developing bloc, on whether our industrialization should get impacted by these COP28 and Paris climate change agreements, and and the overall pressure on carbon neutrality, should that impact our own growth? That is a larger debate. But I think what is interesting is that even with this carbon tax CBAM getting implemented from 2026, Industry Minister Piyush Goyal at an ORF conference yesterday hinted at a fairly interesting workaround. And his suggestion, his idea, primarily emanating from a suggestion that it might be interesting to actually tax emitting organizations, non-carbon neutral companies, industries here in India itself at the same rate at which CBAM is going to kick in from 2026. India collects that tax. India uses that money collected from the tax to help this green energy transition within Indian industries as a whole.
To help its own carbon neutrality.
To help the nation's whole carbon neutrality. Right. Instead of paying the tax to CBAM to the European Union, we collect the tax here domestically. Very interesting insights coming. I don't know if it's workable or not, but let's listen in.
Let's listen to what Union Minister Piyush Goyal had to say. Let's listen in.
The tax, the carbon border adjustment mechanism tax, CBAM, will start sometime in 2026. But personally, I think we in India need not be concerned about it beyond the stage. Of course, we are in dialogue with the European Union and the European countries and their leadership to understand more about it and to see how this will play out. But there are two aspects which I would like all of you to know, and therefore you can rest assured that you are in safe hands. The government is seized of the issue fully and is in dialogue, and solutions will be found. One, if the country from which the goods originate taxes carbon at the level at which the European Union taxes their domestic companies, then there will be no additional tax on our exports to those countries. So if we collect the tax in India itself and use it for our green energy transition, which indirectly will help the same companies who are exporters as they transition to cleaner energy and bring down their carbon footprint, there will be no additional CBAM tax at the European border. And we'll find a solution around a domestic tax which will take care of equating European and Indian tax.
There you go, straight to the horse's mouth, an alternative. Instead of Indian companies being taxed outside of India, it's better that India is proactive in taxing its own companies and making sure collecting those taxes to help India's green energy transition. That's where it is, isn't it, Karthik? I mean, we're looking for alternatives to ensure that Indian companies can have a easier way of trading and operating in other countries.
Absolutely, Krishna. And I think if you're able to circumvent this CBAM, obviously all the money that gets collected through this new tax, the carbon tax, a domestic local carbon tax, will help us offset our own requirements when it comes to carbon neutrality and the costs therein, and not pay this money to the European Union, which has, of course, the entire developed bloc has polluted the environment enough already, right? Why should we pay them more money right now? So I think if you're able to initiate this and go ahead with it and be carbon compliant at the same time, it's definitely a win for India.
Fair enough. Win for India. Win for India and win for India's green energy transition. And talking about India's green energy transition, a very important part of that is our electric vehicles, electric cars. And they had a good time until now, called FAME subsidies helping them. But looks like those subsidies for the manufacturing of electric vehicles, named as FAME subsidies, are set to be taken away from electric vehicle manufacturers, isn't it, Karthik?
Not sure whether it will be taken away completely, whether it will be taken away partly, or whether there would be more infusion of funds into FAME. So let's look at FAME. What is FAME? FAME is faster adoption of electric and hybrid mobility, right? Now, the government had initiated FAME in 2015, and the first batch of FAME, called FAME 1, ran for 4 years. Very small allocation, under 1,000 crores, just about 900 crores or so, and that ran for a period of 4 years. 2019 is when FAME 2 kicked in with a subsidy amount as high as 10,000 crore rupees. Now, where did India use this 10,000 crore rupee outlay? This 10,000 crore rupees got used primarily in electric two-wheelers. And we've seen the numbers, Krishna. Year on year, we've seen electric two-wheelers really adding to electric mobility in India. And what was this FAME 2 all
more
about?
Than cars.
More than cars, much more than cars. So 7,53,000, if my numbers serve me right, are what the subsidies on two-wheelers were, as compared to just about 55,000 odd four-wheelers. Just about 10,000, less than that, about 9,000 odd electric buses.
Right.
So two-wheelers were actually the biggest beneficiaries of this FAME subsidy. What was this FAME subsidy? Primarily, it was a cash back to the consumers, end consumers, from the dealers, from the distributors, from the manufacturers of electric two-wheelers, as a real cash in hand incentive to go ahead and buy those electric two-wheelers. Now the government is, and that ran into its own sets of challenges, right? Number one being that localization norms got flouted apparently by 7 electric two-wheeler manufacturers, and they had to pay the money back to the government of India, the Ministry of Heavy Industries, because of flouting of these localization norms. But that's a different story altogether. The focus right now is that if FAME 3 were to be reintroduced or introduced for the first time with or without an increased or decreased allocation, then what should be the target for FAME 3? Number one, Ministry of Finance is saying, is there a rationale at all in subsidizing electric vehicles? Because according to Ministry of Finance and some reports in the Economic Times, there has been a level of maturity already achieved in electric mobility in India. So any further subsidy is perhaps not going to cut in when it comes to more people wanting to buy EVs. Now, Ministry of Heavy Industries perhaps is not of the same view and thinks that maybe it is time to incentivize the commercial vehicles, the shared mobility, taxis, etc., as well as four-wheelers, and give subsidies to consumers like you and me to go ahead and buy those four-wheelers which are far more expensive than ICE engines. So if that subsidy comes our way, remember we already have a subsidy, we get a tax incentive. If we buy an electric vehicle, then up to 2,50,000 rupees or something, if I remember correctly, we have a tax incentive already. Now there is also a PLI incentive to auto components manufacturers. So Ministry of Finance saying we already give subsidy to the end consumer by way of income tax relief. We give a PLI incentive to automakers. Do we really need to specifically subsidize electric four-wheelers or not? So I think FAME 3 hanging in balance right now, and next year, hopefully in the budget, if not earlier than that, we should know where we are headed when it comes to subsidizing of electric vehicles.
So many hopes riding on that budget, that upcoming budget, which will be the an
interim last budget of this government.
Exactly, exactly, including electric vehicle makers, especially electric vehicle two-wheeler makers, who've been enjoying the FAME subsidy and also passing it on to the consumers, to be fair. But we will take our focus away from FAME subsidies to a topic that we can't stop discussing. And that's because there are news updates on a daily basis. Ever since iconic Infosys founder Mr. Narayana Murthy said that Indians, young Indians, should be working 70 hours a week, the debate has just not abated. In the latest, adding fuel to that fire, raging fire, is the International Labour Organization, or ILO. What has the ILO said? The ILO said that 70 hours a week is absolute nonsense. Your average work week cannot be more than 40 hours a week, isn't it, Karthik?
Yeah, so it started with 48 hours a week, reduced to 40 hours a week. And I think, we've spoken enough. Let the numbers do the talking.
Yes.
And if we can pull up those bar graphs, we will see that the developed nations are actually just shy of even 40 hours.
Yeah, let's do that.
The US being the highest when it comes to developed nations, putting in 40 hours a week. And a country like Australia putting in as little as 29 hours a week.
Let's look BRICS.
Let's look at the emerging markets, right? I think everybody's going to say, why do you talk about the developed nations? Developed nations have slogged those extra number of hours, and hence they've become developed. We are still 25 years away from becoming a developed nation. Let's look at BRICS. India is the highest, even among the emerging economies, the BRICS nations.
More than Brazil.
Even China is about an hour a
week. We beat China in working hours, and we need to work more. There's something chronically wrong over here.
Yeah, I mean, Brazil, Russia averaging under 40 hours a week. China at about 46, still 1.5 hours a week lesser than India. South Africa,
this makes Indian bosses look like slave drivers. And then all those bosses and founders and CEOs are now backing Narendra Modi, saying, sir, you are absolutely right. Heck, look at these numbers, all CEOs out there.
And let's compare it with developed nations also. Let's look at Australia. Australia is 29 hours a week, going all the way up to US at 40 hours a week.
We work more than everybody.
Norway, Germany, Switzerland, 34, 35 hours a week.
We work more than Kazakhstan.
Krishna, you want to migrate there?
I would go to Kazakhstan. That's a 31-hour work week over there. Karthik, explain this to me. Why are these Indian senior professionals, people who are in the so-called C-suite, obsessed with this whole, how dare you question Narendra Murthy? Nobody is taking away Mr. Narendra Murthy's achievements, and so many Indians have jobs because of Infosys. This is not a personal tirade against Mr. Narendra Murthy. The question here is that, are people in the C-suite above a particular age out of touch with reality?
So, Krishna, I think, we've got to see where some of these founders and some of these, innovators, investors are really coming from. I think if you look at Mr. Narendra Murthy, who's 77, and may God bless him with a long life, I think what he's done for nation building, what he's done for India,
absolutely
cannot be questioned
no
ever.
Doubt about it.
But when he was building Infosys, as the founder of Infosys, obviously he had to work much harder than all the people he employed. And not just him, I think all the 7 founders, the 7 jokers as he refers to, who founded Infosys, I think all of them had to put in their hours, their long working hours, because that was the need to build an organization. So is the case with startup founders. When you're on a mission, when you're on a drive, when you really want to create something, you don't look at the clock. You put in those extra hours. I think the debate really is, can you compare founders, CEOs, entrepreneurs with people they employ? Because people at the end of the day believe they're doing a job. Most people, if you look at the bell curve, 80% of the population of working class, which is going to be within that average bell curve, is going to look for work-life balance, is going to look for other avenues outside of office to really live a life. And they're okay with the average salary they are drawing. They're not super achievers. That is why you have outliers in organizations. Those outliers will put in the hours and will eventually become CEOs. And hence, maybe Mr. Murthy's affirmation coming for those 20% outliers who will become future nation builders, while everybody else who's putting in smaller, lesser number of hours will continue business as usual.
I just have one answer to that, Karthik. All these outliers, they will need these average people to come in every day so that they can be the outliers.
Because that is the 80%. Which will do 20% of the work.
These 20% ambitions. You have your ambitions, you achieve something, and then you look at the people who helped you achieve and say, hey, you need to work more. Heck, this is morally wrong. I don't care who says that this whole 70-hour work week. Everybody shut up. Nobody says anything against, Mr. Narendra Murthy says that. Nobody is questioning Mr. Narendra Murthy. But there is an out of touch with reality and understanding how this works. The same 20% outliers, the super achievers. I heard this argument as well. You want to be a super achiever, you have to work 70 hours. It is not just me working 70 hours a week. There's a bunch of people coming out there, putting in their shifts so that I can work 70 hours a week and be that super achiever.
Just in Mr. Murthy's defense, he wants the entire working population to become super achievers, put in those hours, become future leaders.
That's never going to happen, Karthik. It's illogical to my mind. It's completely illogical. Everybody can't be a super achiever. Everybody doesn't want to be a super achiever. Some people just want to live life when we should let them be. And with that, we've completely run out of time here on this edition of Business Plus. Thank you so much for watching. But don't go anywhere. We'll be back with Global Business Report on the other side. Keep it with News 9 Live.